President Trump is getting tough on trade. Meanwhile, the president saying that changes to the North American Free Trade Agreement are necessary. Watch.
NAFTA is a horrible agreement, one of the worst trade deals ever. Right now, Mexico and Canada have such a great deal. It's so good that it's very hard for them to get used to the fact that it can't be that way anymore. And we're being very tough and we're being very fair. But we have to get back a lot. What's happened to this country with NAFTA is unbelievable. The jobs that have been taken, the factories that are moving out of Michigan, out of Ohio, out of Pennsylvania, out of our states is incredible.
Joining me now with the first on Fox Business interview is Dow Chemical CEO, Executive Chairman of Dow DuPont, Andrew Liveris. Andrew, it's great to see you.
Nice to be with you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we heard the president talking about trade there. We want to talk about that with you, but also talk about where you are in terms of this deal and the splitting of the three companies. Dow Chemical based in Michigan first. Talk to us about trade and where you see the challenges and opportunities.
Well, as you know, with the president's agenda, free trade versus fair trade. And when I wrote the book, Make It in America, I talked about fair trade. And I do believe that as the United States, does its trade agenda around the world, refreshing our trade agreements so there's fairness on both sides. We're a consumption economy in the United States, therefore by definition an importer. But we need to become an investment economy, as a consequence become an exporter. The chemical industry is the #2 exporter after aerospace in the United States, so we're a big part of this trade conversation, whether it be NAFTA. Canada looms large for Dow and what we do up in Canada, but China looms large. And I'll be part of the visit to China here in a couple of weeks.
Terrific.
Where we'll be talking a lot about trade as well. So I'm all for calibrating trade so it's fair.
Why haven't they been fair so far? I mean, do you agree with what the president's saying in terms of Canada and Mexico having this great deal and the U.S. is at a disadvantage?
I do. I do think it's because of our mindset. We've spent 6 decades since the Marshall Plan being a consumer. I would tell you over and over, we haven't given much thought to being an investor in our own economy in things like manufacturing and industrial competitiveness. We haven't had an industrial policy, and we barely have an energy policy. So the president is putting emphasis on what can I do to create jobs in America as an exporter of manufactured goods. And I'm all for that, and I do believe we haven't attended to it very well. And therefore we've allowed these free trade agreements where people can export to us. And when they export to us, they're exporting goods, but they have the jobs over there.
Exactly. And that sort of became the template when we did the NAFTA deal. Companies just thought, okay, no problem. I will have all my jobs in Mexico, and then I'll just sell to the U.S. You're the former head of the President's Manufacturing Council. You're obviously working with the president closely on this. How do you want to see NAFTA change?
Well, it does need to be refreshed for the modern era. I think the 21st century is a digital century. I do think automation and factories are changing in competitiveness, and I don't think a labor arbitrage is the reason we should be investing in factories. We should be investing in factories for all the things that go with it, including human capital. So I am pro a reset on NAFTA. Now, of course, fair trade is going to take give and take, but I do think it's, an agenda. And I'm all for what's going on with NAFTA. Secretary Ross is incredibly good at this.
Great.
We've known him for a long time.
Of course you have,
and I.
Sure. Yes.
And we know he knows business. So I really think a seat at the table for business to help recalibrate manufacturing, whether it be NAFTA or China, is very necessary.
Dow Chemical DuPont did a merger in August. You're planning on splitting into 3 companies. How's that going? What can you tell us in terms of the status?
Well, great start. We, took a little while to close the deal, but we did it, as you said, in the time frame you did. So now we're furiously putting together all the synergies, and soon, we'll have a lot to say about the timing of the spins, and we'll have our earnings call next week. And look, the companies, storied companies, 300 years of history.
Incredible.
Can you imagine
that, yes.
what we're doing to rearrange the assets and the cultures of these 3 dynamic growth companies? But look, a great start, and Ed Breen and I are working close, basically twins right now to put this together.
And the growth is really in the chemicals business.
Well, it's all 3. I'd say the agricultural company we're creating will be a category winner. The materials chemicals company, category winner, and this new specialty company we're creating, all 4 divisions in their own right, are #1 or #2 in their businesses. So all 3 will be growth companies, and frankly, come the time we spin, we'll have amazing investor stories. But we're at all stock price high right now.
Right.
So,
obviously investors have reacted.
Investors have seen it as a positive move. And this deal took 10 years in the making, Maria. You and I probably talked about this 10 years
You're
ago.
right, you're right.
And here we are. It can be done to refresh corporations at scale. Not easy, but it can be done.
Yeah, I didn't realize that chemicals was the second largest export. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's incredible, actually.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, you're here in Saudi. You've been here for a long time. You've
Yes.
been coming back, and you see opportunities to sell here.
I'm a big fan of the Crown Prince and what he's doing. We're an early adapter to his Vision 2030. We have finished a $22 billion industrial complex based on advanced materials and chemicals with Saudi Aramco. It's starting up. The quality of the Saudi workforce, best in class around the world. The talent here. We have 4,000
Wow.
young Saudis, very impressed. When we trained them around the world, our people who trained them didn't want to let them come back. They were that great. And this complex is a harbinger of what's to come here. I believe beyond oil and what they're doing here to diversify and to really, what he said on your panel the other day,
Yes, yes.
to really bring to the world a new form of Islam and how he's going to do it. I'm a big fan. I come here 3 to 5 times a year, and I would tell you that we are investors here.
It's pretty incredible what they're trying to do here. I mean, it feels seismic. Andrew, it's great to see you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
you,
much
Maria.
for joining us this morning.
Nice to be with you.
We'll be watching the developments. Andrew Liveris there.